This is the introduction to section 12.2. This is part 2. And in part 2, we're going to continue to discuss chords, except for now we're going to involve some diameters in here as well. So let's take a look at 3 new theorems we're going to look at here for this section. First theorem is theorem 12.8, where it says, in a circle, if a diameter is perpendicular to a chord, then it bisects the chord and its arc. So as you can tell from these 2 examples here, it says here in 12.8 that AB is a diameter. So AB right here is a diameter. It's perpendicular to the chord. And if it's perpendicular to the chord, then we know that in this case DE and CE, or CE and ED, however you want to name these 2 segments, are congruent to each other. And the arcs are congruent to each other. CA and AD are congruent to each other as well. Okay, theorem 12.9 discusses similar things. It says, in a circle, if a diameter bisects a chord, then it's perpendicular to the chord. In other words, we're going backwards. In this case, if the diameter is bisects the chord, it cuts the chord in half, each part's equal, then we also know it's perpendicular. Okay, and then the third one, it says, in a circle, for theorem 12.10, the perpendicular bisector of a chord contains the center of the circle. So, if the line AB bisects the chord, in other words, these 2 parts are equal again, and it's perpendicular to the chord, then you know that it has to be a diameter. It has to go through the center. Okay, it has to be a diameter. Those 3 theorems are related. Okay, so let's take a look now at some examples. All right, we want to find the measure of PQR in arc PQR in this first example. So, as I look here at this first example, we see that we have a diameter and it's perpendicular to the chord and it cuts the chord in half. It bisects it, so I know that the 2 segments are equal. Well, remember, if the 2 segments are equal, then the 2 arcs are equal. PQ is congruent to arc PQ is congruent to arc RQ. Well, if that's the case, then I know that this is 40 degrees. And if those 2 are both 40, arc PQR is 80 degrees, because you would add those 2 up to find the measure. Okay, in this case, we're trying to solve for x in the second example. Again, you'll notice that you have a diameter, and it's perpendicular to the chord, which means that it cuts the chord into 2 equal parts. So I know that these 2 segments are equal to each other. Or I know that 3x plus 16 is equal to 12x plus 7. And I can solve this. If I subtract 3x, I get 9x plus 7 equals 16. If I subtract 7, I get 9x equals 9. And then x is going to equal 1. Now, how would I be able to check? If I were to plug it back in, these 2 had better be the same number. Well, 3 times 1 is 3, plus 16 is 19. Over here, 12 times 1 is 12, plus 7 is also 19. So I know I can check through and make sure that that is correct. Okay, the third example here. Okay, the third example goes back to what we learned at the first part of 12.2, where you'll notice you have 2 chords, and they are both the same distance from the center. Well, if they're both the same distance from the center here, then we know that the 2 chords are equal to each other. So I can say 3x minus 11 equals x plus 9. And if I subtract x, 2x minus 11 equals 9. If I add 11, 2x is going to equal 20. And x is going to equal 10. Okay. Again, if I need to check, I plug it back in. 10 and 9 is 19. 10 times 3 is 30, minus 11 is also 19. Okay, the fourth and final example here. Again, you're looking at the theorems where we just got done talking about 12.9, 12.10, 12.8, where I have a diameter and it's perpendicular to a chord. If it's perpendicular to the chord, I know that the chords are equal to each other. So again, I can say 9x minus 3 equals 7x plus 5. And I know that 2x, because I would subtract 7x, and then I would add 3. And in this case, x is going to equal 4. Okay, so there's 4 good examples of some problems that you might see in terms of homework. Again, a reminder, don't forget to complete your WSQ, and don't forget to study those theorems. Those theorems are going to be important to know. This concludes sections 12.2, part 2.